It was a quiet night. Too quiet. The wind brushed down the deserted streets of Flagstaff, Arizona, with the fresh smell of pine trees and silence that usually preceded peace. But that harmony was soon to be broken. At 11:47 p.m. precisely, red and blue lights illuminated the blackness. Sirens screamed down the street, reverberating like a message from God. Doors swung open, neighbors looked through blinds, and dogs nervously yapped. Something major was going down, and it was taking place at Robyn Brown's residence. The youngest and previously most beloved wife of Kody Brown had forever lived under a veil of untouchable security. To the outside world, she was reserved, faithful, and tirelessly loyal to her husband. But tonight that persona was shattered in a matter of seconds. Police cars descended upon her driveway. Armed officers encircled the house, their boots crunching gravel. One of them shouted commands into a radio. Unit 4, seal the perimeter. We have confirmation, subject is inside. In a flash, the front door swung open. Flashlights sliced through the night. Shouting filled the air. Robyn Brown, step out with your hands visible. She was pacing outside too, her heart racing inside. She clutched her phone and dialed number after number. Meri first. Nothing. Kody next. Voicemail. It was like everyone had left her stranded in her moment of need. Finally, she threw open the door and stepped out into the yard, wearing only a long robe, her hand to her chest. Please, please, there's been a mistake, she cried. But the officers were relentless. They pushed her to the ground, cuffed her wrists, and recited her rights. Local reporters' cameras taped every moment, the flashing lights giving her a deer-in-the-headlights look. The neighbors murmured angrily, "Is that Robyn Brown? No way. What did she do?" They're saying counterfeit money. The rumors spread like wildfire. And then the news that made the arrest go from shocking to unbelievable. In Robyn's garage, camouflaged in plain sight, were 3 enormous cardboard boxes marked family expenses. They appeared normal from the outside, but upon opening, the reality gushed out. Piles and piles of fake bills. The bills were so meticulously printed, so precise, that even the officers were taken aback. One of the officers grumbled under his breath, "This looks professional, not some backyard printer job." In minutes, images of the boxes had been leaked to the media. Social media went wild. How could she do this? Counterfeit? This is bigger than everyone anticipated. Wait till Kody learns about it. And then the moment that rocked not only the police, not only the press, but the entire world of the Brown family. As Robyn was pushed towards the waiting police car, blinding her with flashing cameras, she abruptly screamed out, her voice pleadingly raw. "This isn't mine. It was for Kody." Gasps erupted among the crowd. Neighbors recoiled, covering their mouths. Reporters struggled to jot it down. Even the officers stood still for half a second, looking at each other. Did Robyn just betray Kody Brown, the king of the sister wives empire? The officer who was holding her arm growled, "Keep moving, ma'am." But Robyn did not move. "You don't understand," she cried, twisting in her cuffs. "He told me this was the only way. It was for him, for his debts." The words echoed into the night. And with those words, everything changed. The family in shock back at Meri's small house across town, her phone lit up with text after text. Friends, neighbors, even strangers messaged her. "Turn on the news. Robyn's been arrested." Meri's hands shook as she fumbled for the remote. And there it was. Live footage of Robyn in handcuffs, shouting about Kody. Meri's knees buckled. She knew something terrible was coming. She whispered to herself, "She promised me this would stay hidden." Meanwhile, Christine, now long separated from Kody, received a late-night call from one of her children. "Mom, turn on the TV. Aunt Robyn's in trouble." Christine's jaw fell as she watched the footage. "Oh, Robyn," she said. But her astonishment became icy rage when she heard Robyn call out Kody's name. Of course, she brings him into it. And Kody himself? There was no sign of him. Hearsay circulated that he was away from town. Some speculated that he had skipped town on purpose, leaving Robyn to roll. The neighborhood reactions by nightfall. The whole street was abuzz. The neighbors who had once politely waved at the Browns now stood in small clusters, whispering in hushed but heightened voices. Do you think she actually did it? I heard Kody's been buried in debt. Maybe she was assisting him? They have always had secrets. This doesn't surprise me one bit. Some neighbors felt pity, others anger, and a few even felt vindicated. For years, many had suspected something was off about the family, that always seemed to thrive in chaos. But counterfeit money? That was beyond anything they imagined. The ride to the station, inside the police vehicle, Robyn leaned against the glass, with her forehead, her tears obscuring the flashing lights on the outside. Her throat was parched from crying, but she whispered the same thing repeatedly. It was for Kody. It was for Kody. The officer next to her finally lost his patience. Enough, ma'am. Save it for the judge. But Robyn wasn't finished yet. In her head, if she didn't tell the truth now, she'd never have another opportunity. She raised her head and glared at the dashboard camera, speaking straight into it like it was her only means of salvation. Kody Brown made me do this. He's the one you should be arresting, not me. What she said was caught on tape, and that tape would later cause shockwaves in the courtroom. Foreshadowing the trial, by morning, front pages all over the country howled the scandal. Robyn Brown nabbed in counterfeit scandal. Shocking turn, Robyn accuses husband Kody of being mastermind. From reality TV to real crime, Sister Wives empire in shambles. Sister Wives fans poured onto boards, speculating furiously. Some leapt to Robyn's defense, assuming she was shielding Kody. Others accused Robyn of manipulation, fingers pointed in order to save herself. Others still wondered if this marked the end of Kody Brown's well-established image. But this much was certain. It was not just a crime. This was the start of war. A war that would be fought not in their living rooms, but in the cold, hard walls of a courtroom. Closing suspense of Section 1. With the dawn breaking over Flagstaff, the normally quiet neighborhood was left abuzz with tension. The flashing lights had long since disappeared, but the sound of Robyn's frantic scream still hung in the air. It was for Kody. Was it true? Had the Brown family patriarch been the covert puppet master behind the fake scam? Or had Robyn spun the perfect deception to take everyone down with her? No one knew. But one thing was for sure. The drama was set for one of the most dynamite courtroom showdowns the Brown family and the world had ever witnessed. And the build-up had only just started. The courthouse was packed. Journalists stood on the stairs, cameras blinding like lightning, as each bystander attempted to get a glimpse of notorious Robyn Brown. The air was charged, half scandal, half circus. Within the courtroom, tension was even more palpable. Wooden seats groaned beneath the load of curious spectators. Writers scribbled frantically onto pads of paper, and the gallery hummed with speculation. When the side entrance swung open, all attention shifted. Robyn Brown walked in shackles. Her hair, once neatly styled, was tied back haphazardly, eyes puffy and red. She had on a plain beige prison jumpsuit, rather than the elaborate attire Sister Wives fans were used to seeing. Every step she made rang out in the still room, until the bailiff directed her to sit. The prosecutor, a keen-eyed woman, named Dana Caldwell, rose to her feet at once. Her voice was crisp and biting, as it rang out across the courtroom. Your Honor, this case is not merely one of counterfeit bills. This is about betrayal, deceit, and a deliberate attempt to game the financial system. The evidence is overwhelming. We discovered thousands of dollars worth of fake bills stashed in Mrs. Brown's house, bills that were passed with intent. The judge nodded gravely. Dana's voice grew stern. And let's not forget the accused's words when she was arrested. This isn't mine. It was for Kody. The courtroom hummed. Everyone leaned forward, anxious for Robyn's response. Robyn's defense attorney, a worn-looking man named Michael Harkins, stood up slowly. He adjusted his glasses, his voice gentler, almost begging. Ladies and gentlemen, my client isn't a seasoned criminal. She is a wife, a mother and a woman, who found herself in exceptional circumstances. Yes, there was counterfeit money at her home. But the truth, the entire truth, is a lot more complex. She is not the brains. She is the fall guy. The crowd gasped, Even Meri, who sat quietly in the gallery, winced at the term fall guy. Robyn's first testimony. The bailiff summoned Robyn into the witness stand. Chained hands trembling, she lifted her right hand and promised to tell the truth. She sat down, her voice shaking but clear. Mrs. Brown. The prosecutor started, walking slowly. Do you refuse to admit printing counterfeit money? Robyn's lips trembled. She looked at the ground. I didn't print them. Dana slammed a folder onto the table. Then tell me this. Your fingerprints are on the bills. They were stuffed in your house. Family expenses boxes. Do you deny it? Robyn's voice broke. I don't deny touching them. But they weren't mine. I was instructed it was to assist the family. The courtroom leaned forward. Dana seized. By whom? Robyn raised her tear-stained eyes. Her words struck like a thunderclap. By Meri and by Kody. The gallery exploded. Whispers, gasps, even shouts filled the air. The judge slammed his gavel wildly. Order, order in the court. Meri's complexion turned white. Her shaking hands covered her mouth. As reporters wrote madly, Robyn accuses Meri and Kody. Meri dragged in. The prosecutor sneered. So you're now saying Meri Brown, Kody's first wife, is involved in this plot? You have evidence? Robyn's voice trembled. She handled the money. She assisted me in packing it. She said it was Kody's scheme to make things right. Meri leaped to her feet, shouting. That's not true. I didn't. The judge silenced her. Mrs. Brown, sit down or you will be in contempt. The court was charged. Meri slid back in her chair, tears streaming down her face. But the damage was done. Her name was in the flames. The defense strikes back. Robyn's lawyer intervened, attempting to quell the tempest. Your Honor, my client is under a tremendous amount of stress. She has been manipulated and exploited. This so-called plan was not hers. She is not lying. She was taking orders from individuals she trusted. Dana cut back. Or she is lying to avoid punishment. The defense attorney strolled slowly toward Robyn, dropping his voice as if he were speaking to the jury directly. Robyn Brown is not a mastermind. She is a desperate individual who felt she was protecting her family. She felt that what she did was for the good of everyone. The real question is who led her to believe that? Who had something to gain from fake money? He hesitated. And that response brings us to Kody Brown. The gallery erupted once more. Journalists teetered on the edge of tumbling over one another to deliver breaking news alerts. Kody in the shadows. Somewhere in the room, Kody stiffly sat, his jaw set, his eyes flying back and forth. He hadn't even been called into testimony yet, but already his name was part of the catastrophe. Christine, standing in the background, crossed her arms and grumbled. Typical, always bringing everyone down with him. Janelle's kids traded anxious looks. Some shook their heads, whispering, Mom was right to leave. The whole family drama was breaking down, and it was doing it on live television. The tension mounts. Dana came back to the podium. Her tone became edgier, overriding the chatter. Mrs. Brown, if what you are saying is true, that Meri and Kody were involved, then where is the evidence? Where are the messages, the emails, the recordings? Because without proof, this courtroom cannot accept your testimony alone. Robyn's hands trembled uncontrollably. She looked over at the jury, at Meri, and then at Kody. Her voice barely made it above a whisper. There are messages. The courtroom came to a standstill. What messages? Dana asked sternly. Robyn swallowed hard. Text messages. Between me and Meri. Between me and Kody. I didn't delete them. The judge's eyebrows rose. Are these messages in police custody? Dana nodded. Yes, Your Honor. They were confiscated during the search. The suspense was at a fever pitch. Everyone wanted to know what those messages contained. Would they validate Robyn's assertions, or reveal her as a liar? Closing suspense of Section 2. The judge leaned forward. We will review these messages tomorrow in court. In the meantime, Mrs. Brown, you are remanded to custody. Robyn was removed, her eyes open wide, her voice ringing out through the quiet courtroom. You'll see. You'll all see. It wasn't me. It was for Kody. The doors clicked shut behind her. Meri sat shaking, her world shattering. Kody ground his fists into his thighs, his veneer of control breaking. The gallery murmured wildly. the air heavy with distrust. And as the judge recessed, one question tormented everyone in the room. Were Robyn's words the frantic fabrications of a guilty woman, or the initial fissures in Kody Brown's tightly guarded empire? The second day of the trial commenced under a thick gray sky. People crowded the courthouse steps once more, journalists elbowing one another for the optimal shot. Tension had doubled overnight. News channels broadcast Robyn's frantic phrases on repeat. "This isn't mine. It was for Kody. And Meri helped me." Whispers trailed after Meri Brown as she entered the courtroom like shadows. Head down, with a tissue in hand and a deathly pale face, she moved through the glare of cameras as TV captions shrieked, "First wife now in the spotlight." In the courtroom, the tension hung heavy in the air. Robyn sat in her orange jumpsuit, chains clanking as she shifted her position in the chair. Kody sat rigidly across the aisle, his jaw locked, his eyes black. And Dana Caldwell, the prosecutor, made her play. "The evidence against Meri, Your Honor." Dana started, holding a folder aloft. "Yesterday, the defendant accused Meri Brown of being a part of this counterfeiting ring. Initially, it appeared to be an attempt to apportion blame. But today, we have evidence which proves Meri Brown's involvement." Gasps ran around the room. Meri's lawyer whispered desperately into her ear. But there was no stopping Dana. She went on, her voice cutting. "Those are the fake bills found at Robyn Brown's residence. Forensic analysis indicates Meri Brown's fingerprints on stacks of bills. Not only one, but dozens." The courtroom went wild. "She handled the money." "No way, Meri." "Oh, this is worse." The judge banged his gavel. "Order in the court." Meri's lips trembled as tears welled in her eyes. She shook her head violently, whispering, "No, no, this isn't what it looks like." "Meri on the stand." The judge called her forward. Meri stood shakily, her knees nearly buckling beneath her. She raised her hand, swore the oath, and lowered herself into the witness chair. Dana approached, her tone unforgiving. "Mrs. Brown, do you dispute that your fingerprints were on the fake money?" Meri's voice broke. "I can't dispute that, but I didn't create it. I didn't use it. I didn't even realize it was counterfeit at first." Dana's eyebrow went up. "At first? That is, ultimately you did know." Meri cracked. She sobbed, holding on to the sides of the chair. Yes, I knew it wasn't true. Robyn said it was for the family, that it was for Kody. She said he was drowning in debt, and this was the only way to protect us." Gasps filled the room once more. Kody's face turned red with anger. He pounded his fist on the table, speaking beneath his breath to his lawyer. The judge shouted, "Mr. Brown, calm down." But it was too late. All eyes in the room were on Kody. "The confession," Meri cried openly now, words spilling out. "I should have walked away. I should have said no. But Robyn warned me that if I didn't assist, everything would fall apart. The houses, the children, all of it. She said Kody needed us. And I listened. I listened because I was desperate to hold on to what little family I had." Her voice lapsed into a whisper. "I handled the money. I assisted in packing it. But I didn't want this. I swear I did not want this." The jury remained paralyzed, stuck between sympathy and doubt. Robyn's reaction out of her chair. Robyn sprang up quickly, pointing at Meri. Her voice trembled with hysteria. "Liar, don't you try acting innocent. You knew what you were doing. All right. You were just as much in this as I was. Don't try to blame it all on me now." Meri drew back as if slapped. The courtroom hummed once more. The judge boomed, "Mrs. Brown, sit down at once, or you will be taken from this courtroom." Robyn sank back into her seat, weeping helplessly, her hair tumbling into her face. Kody's silent rage. At the same time, Kody seethed. His hands were clenched so hard over the edge of the table, his knuckles went white. Meri had not only confessed to touching the money, she had uttered the words tying everything back to him. It was for Kody. He grumbled under his breath. But Christine, sitting behind him, heard it loud and clear. "She's weak. They're both weak." Christine leaned over towards her daughter and whispered, "This is what happens when lies eventually catch up." The defense's desperation. Meri's lawyer rose quickly, trying to control the damage. "My client was misled. She is guilty of poor judgment, not of crime. The fingerprints prove only that she touched the bills. Nothing more. She did not create them. She did not distribute them. She did not profit from them. She was a pawn in a much larger game. He turned dramatically to the jury. And the real question is, who was playing that game? His eyes flicked toward Kody. The gallery gasped again. Everyone felt the unspoken accusation. The jury's suspicion. One juror scribbled furiously in her notebook, shaking her head. Another whispered to the man beside her. Their expressions were unreadable, but it was clear the tide was shifting. Meri's confession had softened some hearts, but it had also added another layer of suspicion toward Kody. The judge's warning. The judge pushed forward, sternly in a low voice. Mrs. Brown, listen to this. You are now officially implicated. Your evidence will carry considerable weight in the jury's verdict. You might have attempted to shield your family, but in the eyes of the law, handling fake money isn't a small issue. Meri nodded weakly, slouching in her shoulders. The tissue in her hand was drenched in tears. Closing suspense of Section 3. The courtroom adjourned, but the rumors didn't cease. Journalists bolted out into the street, microphones blazing, voices colliding over each other. Meri admits involvement. Robyn calls Meri a liar. Kody at the center of it all. Outside, the fans fought back and forth online. Some stood up for Meri as a victim manipulated by Robyn. Others lashed out at her for betraying the law willingly. And more pointed the finger directly at Kody, thinking he was the puppet master behind it all. As Meri was walked out, she looked back once more at Kody. Their eyes met. His scowl was cold, unforgiving, almost venomous. And in that instant, one thing was certain to all who were watching. The family was not merely broken, it was warring. The tension grew more intense. Meri had owned up, Robyn had erupted, and Kody was trapped. The next phase would be inevitable. Kody himself on the stand, and no one was sure if the patriarch would live through it. The third day of the trial was different from the rest. From the opening of the courthouse doors, the atmosphere was charged. Reporters surged forward with cameras. Tourists clogged the sidewalks, carrying homemade signs reading "Justice for the Wives" and "Kody is guilty." Inside, the air was charged. Robyn wore her orange jumpsuit, her face white but resolute. Meri gripped a crumpled tissue, eyes puffy from tears that had seemingly never dried. And at the heart of it all sat Kody Brown, his golden ringlets a bit more disheveled, his legendary aplomb frayed at the edges. When at last the judge said, "The court calls Mr. Kody Brown to the stand," the room fell silent. The patriarch stood up slowly, his movements stiff, his face as hard as stone. For the first time, the man who had constructed his persona on charm and control appeared vulnerable. The oath and the stare. Kody held up his right hand, took the oath, and sat down at the witness stand. The wood groaned beneath him. He cast a quick glance at the jury, then at Robyn, then at Meri. His eyes rested the longest on Meri, cold and hard. Dana Caldwell, the prosecutor, stood. She smoothed her blazer, moved forward with a pile of files, and narrowed her piercing eyes at him. "Mr. Brown," she started smoothly, "you have heard the statements of both Robyn Brown and Meri Brown. Both women say this counterfeit ring was done in your behalf. Do you deny it?" Kody scrunched up his face, jaw clenched. "Absolutely. I deny it, absolutely. These women are desperate. They're attempting to take me down with them. I had nothing to do with counterfeit money." His voice was firm, but his eyes flickered toward the jury, searching, pleading. The first crack. Dana didn't flinch. She flipped open a folder. "Interesting. Because when investigators searched your financial records, they uncovered multiple secret bank accounts under your name. Accounts that were opened just weeks before the counterfeit money began circulating." The jury shifted uncomfortably. The gallery buzzed. Kody's face flushed. He shifted in his chair. "I don't know anything about those accounts. I never opened them. If anything, maybe Robyn." Dana broke in sternly. "Mr. Brown, these accounts are in your name. Your signature, your identification. Are you suggesting your wives somehow stole your whole identity?" The jury snickered softly, but the judge banged his gavel. "Order." Kody gulped hard. His charm was fading. Robyn explodes abruptly. Robyn blurted from her seat, her voice hoarse. "See, he's lying. He told me to do it. He said it was the only way to keep his empire alive." The courtroom exploded into pandemonium. Reporters wrote furiously. The judge bellowed for order.
As bailiffs scurried to hold her back, Kody seethed at Robyn, his teeth clenched, his voice venomous. "You're pathetic. You got caught, and now you're trying to blame me." The crowd gasped. Kody had never so publicly turned on Robyn before. The text messages Dana's hand went up to silence the room. Her voice was light, nearly playful. "Your Honor, the defense has repeatedly alleged that these women were lying. But today we have something more tangible. Evidence for itself." She displayed a pile of printed pages. "Here are the text messages confiscated from Robyn Brown's phone. From her and Meri, and her and Mr. Kody Brown." The courtroom went still. All of them leaned forward. Dana read out loud. "Robyn, Kody says this will make everything okay. He says nobody will know. Robyn, Meri, he needs us. He says it's the only thing to do." The room gasped. Dana's tone became more cutting. "And then this one straight from your number, Mr. Brown. Do it. Don't ask questions. This is for the family." The jury looked at him in amazement. The gallery hissed angrily. Kody's face flushed bright red. He shook his head violently. "Those aren't mine. I didn't write those. They could have been faked, tampered with. You can't believe screenshots." Dana smiled icily. "They were not screenshots, Mr. Brown. They were extracted directly from the device by forensic experts. These are genuine." The tension cracked like a whip. The jury watches. The faces of the jurors said it all. One woman furrowed her brow, arms crossed. A man slouched back, shaking his head slowly. A third juror scribbled frantically, his lips clamped tight. Each word, each gesture was being measured. And Kody knew it. Kody's desperation. His voice became louder, more panicky. "You don't get it. This family has been attacked for years. By the media, by the government, by us failing ourselves. I bore the burden of all of them. Robyn, Meri. They all look to me for solutions. I didn't instruct anyone to create counterfeit money. I didn't." Dana pounded her fist on the table. "Then why, Mr. Brown, did both your wives come in and testify separately that you informed them this was for you? Why did they put everything on the line to cover for you, if you weren't involved?" Kody stood stock still. For the first time, he did not have a ready response. His mouth dropped open and slammed shut, but no words emerged. The silence was oppressive. Christine's whisper. Christine leaned forward in the gallery and whispered to Janelle, who sat next to her. "He's cornered. He knows it. This is the real Kody. When his lies catch up, he collapses." Janelle nodded, her expression somber. "This is what we all lived through. Now the world sees it too." The judge's warning. The judge cleared his throat, his gaze on Kody. "Mr. Brown, you are on oath. Remember, any untrue statement given here will constitute perjury. And I can assure you that the evidence given so far is exceedingly serious." Kody's shoulders folded a bit. For an instant he was no longer the self-assured patriarch, but rather a man in water up to his neck. The closing blow of Section 4. Dana leaned forward, her tone quiet and measured. "Mr. Brown, last question. If you had nothing to do with this, why did you send your wives these messages? Do it. This is for the family. Quote. Question mark. Explain that to this court." The room was dead quiet. The jurors were leaning forward. Cameras closed in on his face. Kody stood frozen. His mouth opened but nothing happened. His eyes fluttered frantically around the room at Meri, at Robyn, back to the jurors. And in that awful silence, the whole courtroom knew the truth. Kody Brown was caught red-handed. The judge brought down his gavel. "Court will recess until tomorrow." The crowd erupted as bailiffs led away Kody. Robyn yelled after him, "Tell them the truth, Kody. Tell them it was you." Meri cried silently. The jury filed out looking grim. And outside, the headlines were already making themselves known. Kody cornered. Texts reveal truth. Brown family patriarch exposed. The waiting was agonizing.
Good.
Kody at last crack. Or would he spin his way out yet again? The world would know in the verdict. The courtroom had never been so crowded. Folks jammed the benches. Shoulders crowded. Whispers rippling like waves through the air. News crews huddled with cameras, microphones at the ready, their gazes locked on the doors, where the jury would soon emerge. The Brown clan's dynasty, shaped over decades of secrets, melodrama, and fractured promises, was to be put under its ultimate scrutiny. Kody Brown paced uneasily beside the defense table, his golden ringlets now in disarray, his previously bright self-assurance shattered into pieces. Next to him, his attorney breathed urgently, but Kody hardly caught a whisper. His gaze was riveted to the jury box, his jaw clenched, his fingers tapping compulsively on the wooden desk. Across the courtroom, Robyn Brown shook in her orange jumpsuit, hands clasped tightly in her lap. She gazed down, lips moving softly, as if she were mumbling a prayer. Meri was seated in the first row of the gallery, tear-stained eyes, fingers clasping the locket. Christine had left for her for encouragement. This wasn't merely a verdict. This was a reckoning. The waiting for the jury. The bailiff stated, "All rise for the jury." The room became quiet. 12 jurors marched back to their seats, their faces impassive. Some gazed straight ahead. Others looked briefly at Kody, then deliberately away. The judge's serious face cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a unanimous verdict?" The foreperson, a woman whose eyes were sharp and whose voice was steady, stood. "Yes, Your Honor, we have." Kody's attorney whispered close to his ear. "Calm down. Maybe we convinced one. Maybe there's a reasonable doubt." But Kody did not reply. His fists wrapped around the table edge, white-knuckled. "The verdict for Robyn."
The judge nodded. "Hand the verdict form to the bailiff. Please." The paper was handed over, unfolded, and read out loud. "On the count of possession and distribution of fake money, we, the jurors, find the defendant, Robyn Brown, guilty." The courtroom gasped. Robyn emitted a loud cry, her shoulders quaking spasmodically. "No, please. I did it only for him," she bellowed, gesturing towards Kody. It was his scheme. His scheme. The bailiff struggled to hold her as she wept hysterically. Reporters frantically scribbled. Meri covered her mouth, heartbreaking in spite of all. Christine shook her head, grumbling under her breath. She finally paid the price. But the room knew, the larger question still lingered unanswered. The verdict for Kody. The foreperson passed over the next piece of paper. The judge spoke slowly, his voice laden with the gravity of the moment. "On the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kody Brown." The room leaned forward as a unit. Cameras snapped, hearts thrummed. "Guilty." The outburst of sound was thunderous. Some cried out in elation. Others gasped in shock. Meri broke down, her body shaking as years of unspoken pain were released. Christine closed her eyes and softly whispered, "Finally." But Kody? He didn't blink. He just sat there, locked, as though the words didn't reach him. Kody's outburst seconds passed. Then the quiet was broken. Kody pounded his fist on the table, standing up. His voice boomed around the room. "This is a lie. A setup. I built this family. I kept us alive when no one else could. And this is how you repay me?" His eyes danced wildly about the room, seeking compassion, but he found none. The jury glared back blankly. Robyn wept uncontrollably. Meri shook her head in slow movement, whispering, "It's over, Kody. Finally it's over." The judge hammered his gavel angrily. "Order in the court. Brown, sit down or you will be held in contempt." But Kody continued to shout, "You think you've won? You think you've destroyed me? No verdict can stop me. I'll rebuild, I'll rise again." Bailiffs moved in, holding his arms as he thrashed about, his face red with rage. The world finally saw, for the first time, not the charismatic patriarch, but the desperate man behind, broken, cornered, and seething. The sentencing suspense. The judge held up his hand. "Sentence will be 30 days from today. The defendants will remain in custody until then." The gavel came down. The trial was finished. But the aftermath was only just beginning. Aftermath in the gallery. Christine glanced at Janelle, tears in her eyes. "Do you understand what just went down? After all these years of manipulating, the lying, the favoritism, justice finally caught up with him." Janelle nodded, but her face was serious. "Yes, but it cost him. Look at Robyn. Look at Meri. We're all broken remnants of what he created." Meri, listening to them, held her tissue in a tighter grip. She wasn't winning. She was mourning. Not for Kody, but for the years she lost trusting him. Reporters crowded outside, screaming questions into microphones. Do you think Kody deserves prison? Was Robyn just a scapegoat? Is this the end of the Brown family legacy? Robyn's breakdown. As Robyn was taken away in handcuffs, she looked back for a final moment, her hoarse and desperate cry ringing out. Kody, tell them the truth. Tell them it was you. But Kody did not even glance at her. His eyes were cast down, his jaw locked, his silence more eloquent than any denial. The twist, a secret revealed, just as everyone thought it was done. Dana Caldwell, the prosecutor, came out with one final word to the media. She was cool about it, but her words landed like a bombshell. This case is concluded in the sense of a verdict. But our investigation is far from over. Here's evidence to suggest that other members of this family are involved in this scam, and we are going to make them tell us who. The crowd erupted in chaos. Reporters shouted over one another. Christine's eyes widened. Janelle stiffened. Even Meri's head snapped up in shock. The suggestion was clear. The counterfeit ring might be bigger than anyone realized. The final scene as Kody was dragged out in handcuffs. Cameras flashing wildly, he turned one last time toward the crowd. His face twisted into a bitter smile. You think you've seen the last of me? This family isn't finished. Not by a long shot. The doors slammed behind him. Meri whispered softly, almost to herself. No, Kody, you're finished. We're free. The courtroom emptied, but the echoes of the verdict lingered in the air. The Brown family empire had collapsed in full view of the world. But what secrets still lay buried beneath the rubble? For if the prosecutor was correct, this was only the start.